Hey guys, this is Alpier and I'm bringing you another video. This one's going to be about TvZ and it's going to focus on a mech build that IMMvp has made a bit popular lately. And this build you're going to focus on banshees and hellions in order to get into the mid game, and you're going to use those banshees and hellions to control the ground. You're going to need your banshees for roaches because hellions simply just cannot deal with roaches well enough. And you're going to need your hellions to deal with mass amount of lings because your banshees won't do enough DPS to deal with mass amounts of lings. So that's the key to this build, is banshee hellion mix in order to deal with ling roach, and this will allow you to take your third earlier, gain map control, and any kind of ground attack will be punished if you keep producing banshees, because a lot of times when Terran player tries to go mech, they get kind of overrun. You know, they send some roaches here, nidus here, some lings here, and they get split all over the place and they don't know what to do. Well, with hellion banshee, you have the mobility of a banshee to easily go in between bases. You have the speed of a hellion to easily go in between bases, and you have the ability to deal with roaches due to the banshees. So it's a really solid opener, and you shouldn't lose to anything outright. There might be a few specialty builds, but for the most part you'll be very safe. So with command center first, I chose to do that mainly because I feel like it's safe in the current meta game. There might once again be a few specialty builds that can deal with that, but right now it's really safe to actually go command center first, even on the ladder. So you're going to go command center first, get your barracks, and then get your 2 gas, and you'll even want to get a 3rd gas a bit faster than I do in this game. The reason being, you want to get your absolute fastest factory up after your command center goes up that you can, because you're going to want to get banshees to deal with banshees and hellions to deal with any all-ins as soon as you possibly can. So as you can see here, he's just going a standard build. He went 15 hatch and is just droning up. I went CC first and getting my reactored hellions out, and really we're both just kind of playing a passive game right now. One of the things you need to look for with this build is always check for the 3rd base before the 8-minute mark. The reason you want to do this is you want to make sure that he's not going mutas, and if you don't see a 3rd base before the 7-8 minute mark, that's extremely unusual, and he's probably doing some kind of 2-base tech build, in which case you really don't want to get caught off guard by any sort of muta rush. So as you can see here, I'm getting my reactored hellions out. I'm going to start up my starport for my banshees, and I have my tech lab already ready. I didn't need to build it that fast, but hey. You're going to want to produce non-stop hellions until at least 8. You really just need the DPS for if they go massive lings. Now at this point you're just focusing on keeping constant SCV production, getting your gas up, and waiting for your banshees and hellions. You don't really want to take an expansion until you have adequate banshee hellion to deal with any kind of ground harassment. So I'm just going to wait to get that going. Right now I have my 4 hellions, and I'm going to go up and scout for his 3rd base, which I'm doing before the 8-minute mark. I honestly could have done it a little bit sooner, but that's okay. I'll check the watchtower and then go up and look for his 3rd base, which he actually just planted down. This is actually a big deciding factor here, because once you see this 3rd base, you know mutas are not coming in a timely fashion, and this allows you to play a little bit more smoothly, I want to call it. You're going to be able to get your armory up, your 4 factories up, and not worry about eBay turret Thor, you know, really quickly. So I'm just harassing this 3rd base, knowing he's going to have to bring some queens up and potentially disrupt his injects. Fortunately for him, he made enough queens to send those over and keep injects going. But at this point I realize, okay, I have 8 hellions, I have banshees coming out, and I'm going to be safe from ground attacks now. So I've gone ahead and started my 3rd command center. And just as a side note, I typically do not make this Viking. It's actually a mistake to make a Viking this early. You really need to get your banshee and cloak up as fast as you can, just in case some kind of roach all-in is coming. So that was simply a mistake on my part. I think I actually did it because he had an overlord in my base just floating around in the middle, and I didn't produce a marine this game, so I just wanted to get rid of it. But you really want to rush these banshees as fast as you can. So okay, so now here you're seeing the benefit of scouting that early 3rd base and realizing mutas are not coming anytime soon, getting 4 factories up, getting my armory up, not having to worry about money on a eBay or really quick thors. So I have some extra money to get my 3rd command center down, my 4th command center down, all my gas is up, and I'm really looking in good macro shape right now. You want consistent banshee production. People really underestimate the amount of DPS banshees can add. If you have 5, 6, 7, 8 banshees in your late game fight against ground armies, it's going to be immensely helpful for sniping infestors if you split them up, for adding DPS to roaches, for all a plethora of things, harassing. So you really just want to continually produce these banshees. One of the big strengths of this build is you have the banshee count in order to deal with multi-pronged attacks. So if he sends, you know, a Nidus worm and let's say 10 roaches or something in your main, you can fly your banshees there, have your tanks and thors here and a PF here, and you're really covered on all angles. So as you can see with him, he's going pretty standard. He's massing up, he's really low on drones in his main. Must have transferred too many. He's massing up a lair army, getting double evo, and I don't think he's really identified the kind of build I'm going yet, so he hasn't quite done a correct response. Mistake on his part. This is a lowish masters game. As you can see here, this is going to be easily denied with my hellions. Just another reason you want to make 8, 10 of them and not 4, 6 of them. You want to make sure you can deny any kind of harassment like that. And at this point, I'm just really solidifying my defense. I'm going to siege up some tanks here. I'm going to start getting out some thors in case he switches to mutas now that he's recognized I've had a mech army. And now you're really starting to see this type of build develop. So early on we protected ourselves with hellions and banshees, and now we're going into the second stage of the game where we're getting double armorys. We have thors coming out. We have some we have 4 command centers. We have tanks sieged up. We're ready to get our 4th pretty soon here with a PF is what this command center's for. And we're really just controlling our area, controlling our space, and setting ourselves up for the late game. At this point, you're going to want to be checking for when his hive comes down. As you can see, he's kind of realized what's going on, and he decided to get another evo, probably for ranged upgrades, a roach warren and a spire, and he has his infestation pit. He really realized what's going on. He says, okay, you're going mech. I'm going to double expand. I'm going to get my spire and hive out, and I'm going to try and counter your late game army with my own late game army. Now here's the importance of scanning. I scan, I say, okay, I see you have just a lair now. I'm getting quite high in food, 151, and if I keep macroing correctly, I'm going to have a timing to push out before your brood lords hit. Now this won't always be the case. Sometimes you'll push out, and as you're pushing out, the brood lords will come out, and in most cases you're going to need to retreat and start building up a raven or a Viking army in order to counter that broodlord infestor. You do not want to have just pure mech without Viking or ravens against broodlord infestor corruptor. You're just not going to win that fight most of the time. As you can see, my food's getting quite high and his macro's somewhat poor this game, and this is getting to be a really good time to push out. I have a decent siege tank count. I have 4 bases going. I can float out a 5th if I really need to. In fact, I actually should be floating one out right now, and I should have been roaming around with hellions. So in general, be a little bit more active with roaming around with hellions, looking for these bases, because I could really get a lot of free drone kills right now. And just recognize when you can take extra bases. I probably could have taken either of these bases a decent bit ago. As you can see, I'm continuing my upgrades. I'm almost maxed. I'm not quite sure if I've scouted hive yet, but I do remember this game scanning to check for hive. So that's going to be a big decision in a big factor in my decision to push out pretty soon here. He's still on a roachling army with some infestors. I guess he's just, oh yep, there it is. I see his hive on the way, and this triggers my push. I say, well, really late hive. it's just time to push out. I'm almost maxed. I have really good upgrades, and he has a delayed hive due to not recognizing the kind of build I was going early enough. So here comes the real strength in this build. You push out a little bit before hive or as Greater Spire is finishing up, and if you miss your timing and you're not able to finish him off, you can absolutely pull back and get a Raven stockpile and fight that army. As you can see here, I have starports coming up in preparation for if this push is not successful, and that way I have a counter to the broodlords. If this push isn't successful, I can pack up, pull back. Broodlords are slow, except that I lost a little bit of my army and regain, and actually have a fighting chance against this broodlord combo. So I'm pushing out. Yeah, he still hasn't started his Greater Spire, so he is playing poorly this game in that sense. I mean, you just absolutely cannot deal with the army I have right now with just roach infested. So I should clean him up pretty hard. But you really get the idea of this build. I push out with scanning hive to recognize my timing. I see hive push out, and as I push out, I throw up some starports in case I need to get some ravens out. In this case, I realize I'm so far ahead I actually go for BCs, but I typically go for 7 or 8 ravens with Hunter Seeker Missile. I find that to be a lot easier to get out than a bunch of BCs because of build times and those kind of things. As you can see here, he doesn't really have much of an option. He's still on lair tech basically, and I have a near 200 mech army. Not much you can do. So I have a little bit of dead moment here. I'll just talk about overrun the basics of the build once more. You're going to want to get hellion and banshees out in the opener. You're going to want to, from that point, check if he has a third base coming up early or not, so you know if you need to rush thors and turrets in case it's a 2-base lair build. And if not, then you can go ahead and get siege tanks and double armory a little bit earlier than normal, and go there from tank, thor, banshee, and when you move out, keep scanning for hive, and when you decide to move out, throw up some starports so you can counter a broodlord army if the broodlord army comes out and you're not able to finish with thor tank. So you see he's a little bit upset. It's understandable. This build's actually really strong right now. A lot of Zergs are having problems with it. Unfortunately for him, he played this poorly, at least more poorly than I did, and there's not much he can do at this point. So if you have any questions, feel free to subscribe, comment, send me a message. I'm going to start trying to make a little bit more videos again. I have a new microphone and a new computer, so they're a bit better quality than they were before. It's been a long time since I made videos. As a side note, I've only been able to play about 3, 4, 5 games a week at the most right now. So I'm still stuck at the like top 50-ish masters in my division, which is quite poor. I would like to do a lot better than that. So hopefully I can get some more time to practice and make some better videos. But subscribe, rate, comment, leave any questions you have. I'll post basic build order and rundown in the comments. Thank you.